Hello everybody, this is Chiosuke here yet again with another SC2 video. I'm going to be doing another TvT on, this time, Catalyst LA. I actually looked up the name of the map before we went into this replay, so good on me. So going to be throwing down my barracks and my main base, also going to be getting a refinery, so I think I go for a Reaper on this map. Reaper's pretty good, can jump up here, can jump up over here as well, and can always poke up the ramp in order to see what your opponent's doing. Can you jump up? You can also jump up over here, which makes it even better. Also has a little bit of Korean that I cannot read. Jo, Jui? Chewy? I don't know. I have no idea. If somebody knows Korean, they can just they can tell me what that means. So my opponent is also going to be going for a barrack, so everything is pretty standard up to this point. Just going to be fast forwarding things as we get along in this game. So I have since StarCraft 2 went free to play, I got one of my other accounts that I use for like Hearthstone and other things for like the free promotions and whatnot. And then I just renamed it Unorthodox, so this is the account that I do strategies that are kind of like out there, that aren't exactly meta, that I'm not trying to like perfect in any way. And just having really fun with it. I highly suggest doing it as well, just to mess around with the game and see what works, what doesn't. My opponent going to be going for two Reapers here against my single Reaper. I do get a kill on the SCV that was building the command center, so that was a pretty nice pick off by me. I also have two Marines. One was kind of like misrallied, and this Reaper, man, got out with like just a sliver of HP. But my opponent does have these two Reapers in. The positioning of these Marines are kind of ambitious. I feel like I probably should have put them back a little bit more. I miss my, what's this called? The K something grenade. And my opponent's just going to be sending his Reapers back, going to be building a reactor on his barracks and a tech lab in his factory. Doesn't look like he's going to be getting a starport just yet. In fact, going for a second factory, so my opponent is going to be going for some mech style. So I'm going to be bringing in my Reaper here once again, just trying to check out where he threw his Reapers and also scout for a possible attack. Again, my Marines are kind of rallied all over the place. Going to be going for a couple more barracks just because I know I'm going to be floating a lot of Marines if I'm going to be going for a very, what's it called? Gas-oriented strategy. So a little bout over here. My Reaper takes a little bit more damage. And I do know that he's coming in over here, so positioning these Marines again are very bad because he can now just jump up into my main base. This is also just due to lack of knowledge of the map. So he's just going to be coming in here, going to be picking off the SCVs that are finishing up these barracks. I realize this and I'm like, oh gosh darn it. So I have to run these Marines all the way from down to my natural expansion all the way up here, and in the meantime, in the units lost tab, I have already lost so many. And these Marines! Go Marines! What am I doing? I'm microing over here, so I'm trying to do some damage, but he has a tank, so that's just going to clean that up, no problem. So I have a Banshee on the way. One is already out, and it is going to be going cross map. I figure a Banshee strategy into Thor's is pretty good, so going to be building a second Banshee as well. In the meantime, I have lost a handful of workers. 7 have gone down total, and this is all because the Marine positioning was bad and the multitasking by myself was also bad. So now the Banshee is finally in his base, going to be picking off one Marine, two Marines, again, because I'm not microing there. I finally realized that I have the Banshee in his base, going to be now cloaking in, going in, killing off a single tank. That's a really, really big pick off for me. And going to be targeting down another tank and then switching targets halfway through. He pulls his SCVs in order to try and repair it, so I'm able to pick off a couple SCVs here as well. But I see the turret, so I have to be kind of careful. I'm also moving out with these Marines because I misrallied here yet again. So the missile turret is going to be poking at my Banshee, and one of the more annoying things is to just poke away at any form of building that isn't protected by a missile turret, because most of the time a player will put one missile turret in each mineral line and they'll be like safe from most things, but they'll have to you'll force a scan for sure because they won't have a missile turret protecting their production most of the time. So you can pick off critical things like reactors and tech labs. But for some bizarre reason, I only went for a Supply Depot, and that was bad. And I should feel bad. So I have another Banshee over here. It is pre-cloaked because why not? Going to be going in to his base again. I again know of the missile turret back here, so I'm just going to be poking at the front. See that he's trying to making his third expansion. I also have my third going up. He is going to be scanning, and I try to get out of range, but just barely still get hit by that. I do have a handful of units over here at random SCV just chilling because again, why not? And now I do have my fusion core on the way, so bunch of idle SCVs because I'm trying to set up an attack over at his base. He is setting up a lot of turrets just to prevent any form of dropping going on in his main base. That's one of the scarier things if you are going for a mech composition. So I'm going to be attempting to get more tank kills with this Banshee. So because of this other turret, the Banshee is going to be going down, but in the meantime, I can set up my 2 tanks right here and be really, really annoying. He favored a very Viking-heavy unit and unit composition, and he hasn't exactly started tanks until just now. So right now I can do a lot of damage. Tries to land the Vikings, but isn't quite in range of these tanks. The positioning of these tanks isn't the best by me either. I could have moved them like closer down here. I feel would have been a better position, so then he couldn't pick things off from the high ground as easily. So in the meantime, I am starting my own battlecruiser production. I have way too many starports for the amount of bases that I have, and I'm going to now just be repositioning my siege tank. Going to be scanning. Luckily, I catch one of his siege tanks just attempting to get sieged up, so I can pick that one off very, very quickly. And still doing some chip damage to this orbital command, so he's losing some mining time with these marines. This one siege tank that's placed behind his mineral line going to be taking out a few of my overly ambitious marines. And I'm just pretty happy just containing him like this, because he doesn't have a third base. I don't know that he doesn't have a third base, but just him being contained is a good place for me to be in. And because I'm putting on so much pressure, his macro has slipped, and it actually looks like it's because he doesn't have a factory just dedicated to Hellions or anything as well. So he's floating a lot of minerals right now. He also doesn't have the gas at his natural expansion. So going to be transitioning into battlecruisers. If you guys didn't know, the Cannon, it doesn't cost energy anymore, which is amazing for this strategy. So you can just charge a Yamato cannon immediately once you get that research, and then it's just a cooldown. Really, really great ability now. So my opponent has now broken my contain. He has killed off all of the tanks that I did have. So I'm going to just be spreading these marines in order to scout for when he eventually gets a third base up. I think I send this marine probably down here in order to see what's up. I have some marines for defense. Probably should have thrown down a bunker like over here, or possibly just behind the mineral line to defend against Hellion focused harass. Because just a handful of like blue flame Hellions will completely wreck this mineral line. And if I place my marines here, it defends my natural and my main base, but I'm still very vulnerable. So in the meantime, I do have now 2 battlecruisers. I'm getting my +1 air attack and going to be focusing on Vikings because I did see him get a lot of Vikings early on, and he hasn't lost any, so he still has a count of 5. So pretty notable. So I'm just going to be waiting until I get enough in order to actually go for an attack, because Vikings, I'm pretty sure, can still just completely out micro the battlecruisers, and that's one of the more annoying things to deal with because of how slow battlecruisers are. But they do have this new tactical jump, which is so much fun to use. We will be seeing that eventually. So my opponent is again just going for a very tank-centric unit composition, just because he's going for mech. And he is now going for this Hellion attack, going into my third base, and eventually going to be throwing it off. This is why I was saying I should probably get like a bunker here, or maybe even a planetary fortress right here. just in order to deal with these Hellion run-bys. And he hasn't seen my unit composition yet, but he is going to be going for a Hellion run-by to my natural expansion, excuse me. And now he sees the battlecruisers, so I'm like, okay, it's time to go. I do now have a nice handful of Vikings, a nice 8. So I can actually contest his Viking count. Going to be getting my 4th base up as well. So going to be going to his 3rd base, which is just freshly up. He does have his Hellions coming back to defend. Going to be trying to get up a couple more turrets in order to help his own air army out. But just with the amount of Vikings that I do have, I'm able to pick off all of his. Going to be using the tactical jump, and when they get there, my opponent leaves immediately because he doesn't have any response to these, unfortunately, just because of the ground-centric unit composition that he went for and the lack of Vikings. So, you know, battlecruisers are pretty good. I didn't really get to abuse their massive amount of damage, but still a really fun game regardless. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys later.